Saudi Arabia is in, Turkey is in, Pakistan is in, but Egypt, the Arab world's most populous country and one of its biggest militaries, is not. The new Mecca Defense Pact has a collective defense clause and is already being described as an Islamic Nato. Yet, Cairo has stayed outside. One possible reason sits thousands of kilometers away: India. Egypt has spent the last few years building a strategic partnership with Delhi through joint exercises, defense industry cooperation, counter-terrorism coordination and military training. So is India quietly shaping Cairo's calculation, or is Egypt simply refusing to get trapped inside a bloc led by regional rivals with very different agendas? And what does Egypt's absence actually reveal about the cracks forming in this new alliance? On August 7th, Turkish President Erdogan flew to Mecca to sign a defense agreement with Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. Turkish officials kept the trip deliberately secret, revealing the location and timing just days before, reportedly fearing outside interference. The result is a formal Mecca joint defense agreement, described by Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan as technically equivalent to NATO's Article 5, treating an attack on one member as an attack on all. Egypt should have been the fourth name on that document. It has one of the largest militaries in the Arab world. It controls the Suez Canal. It is central to Arab politics. Instead, its seat stayed empty. What makes this striking is that Cairo had already been sitting alongside these three countries in something called the R4 Dialogue, a framework built specifically for consultation on regional security. Now, there are two very different stories about why this happened. One is that Saudi Arabia itself opposed Egypt's inclusion, driven by growing frustration with President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's government. One former senior Saudi advisor called it laughable to suggest Egypt had rejected the pact voluntarily, insisting Cairo would have jumped at the financial benefits that typically come with these agreements. But there is another theory doing rounds. Egypt itself chose to hold back because it does not want to pick sides between two emerging camps: Turkey, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan on one side, and Israel, the UAE and India on the other. This is the part that matters most for India. Egypt has been steadily deepening commercial and strategic ties with India in recent years, alongside its financial dependence on the UAE, which has its own tensions with elements of this emerging Saudi-Turkey-Pakistan bloc. Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has appeared warmly alongside Prime Minister Modi at multilateral summits. So joining a pact that includes Pakistan at a time when India-Pakistan tensions remain sharply elevated following this year's military clash would put Cairo in an awkward position with a partner it's actively courting. Egypt appears to be protecting its non-aligned positioning, one that lets it maneuver between competing blocs rather than get boxed into another. India is not the only factor at play. Saudi-Egyptian relations themselves have been strained. Riyadh has reportedly grown frustrated watching Cairo grow closer to Gulf rivals, while defending or deepening heavily on Saudi financial support since Sisi took power in 2013. There's also a competing power dynamic between Saudi Arabia and the UAE, which Egypt is trying not to get caught in the middle of, given its own defense cooperation with Abu Dhabi, including deployment of Rafale jets during recent regional crisis. So Egypt's absence may be less about a single India-driven calculation and more about it trying to avoid multiple overlapping rivalries at once. Pakistan makes the India factor especially sensitive. India is already assessing the implications of the Mecca Pact because Pakistan sits inside it. The MEA has said New Delhi will take whatever measures are necessary to protect its interests. Now imagine Egypt joins. Suddenly Cairo becomes part of a security arrangement containing a nuclear-armed Pakistan, whose military doctrine is centered overwhelmingly on India. Would Egypt want a future India-Pakistan confrontation to become a test of Egyptian treaty obligations? Probably not. That does not mean Egypt is choosing India over Pakistan. It means India is too important for Cairo to accept unnecessary strategic baggage. The relationship is not only military. Egypt wants bilateral trade with India to reach $12 billion within next 5 years. Its foreign minister said so in May. India and Egypt also held their first strategic dialogue in 2025. The agenda covered investment, technology, defense industries, counter-terrorism and intelligence cooperation. Egypt wants Indian investment, Indian manufacturing, Indian tourists, Indian defense technology and broader global South coordination. Why jeopardize that for a pact whose exact strategic obligations are still evolving? That is the cost-benefit calculation Cairo has to make. So is India the real reason for Egypt to not join the Islamic NATO? The answer is partly, perhaps, but not alone. Joining a pact containing Pakistan would introduce a complication Cairo currently does not need. India therefore becomes one important reason for caution, even if it is not the only one. For India, Egypt's hesitation is a small but meaningful signal that even as Pakistan builds new alliances in the Gulf, not every regional partner is willing to fully align against Delhi's interests. Whether Egypt eventually joins the pact later, as Turkish officials still hope, will say a great deal about how durable these emerging gaps in West Asia actually turn out to be.
The old rules are breaking. Alliances are shifting.
Apologize again to the victims of the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
Wars are redrawing maps. Oil routes can shake economies overnight. One election in America can impact markets in Mumbai.
No tax on tips.
One move by China can alter the balance in Asia. One conflict in West Asia can hit every Indian household. This is no longer a distant story. This is our story. Your story. Because for the first time in decades, India is not watching from the sidelines. India is rising. India is negotiating. India is balancing rivals. India is building military strength. India is shaping trade routes. India is becoming central to the new global order. And yet, most global news is still told through someone else's lens. Washington's lens, Beijing's lens, London's lens. But where is India's lens? Where is the platform that explains the world? From our perspective. Welcome to India's Axis, a new destination for geopolitics, strategy and power seen through India's eyes. From Neighborhood Watch to the biggest global stories that matter to you. Why tensions in the Taiwan Strait matter to India. How one move by China can affect India's security. What turmoil in Pakistan means for regional stability. How Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan shape India's neighborhood. Why oil choke points can hit your wallet. How wars abroad can reshape India's security. This is not noise. This is not shouting. This is not recycled headlines. This is sharp, intelligent storytelling. Daily explainers, war room analysis, strategic conversations. Because news is everywhere, but perspective is rare, and in the age of confusion, clarity is power. Axis is for the audience that wants more than headlines. The axis of global power is shifting. India is at the center of that shift. It's time the world was explained accordingly. To understand the world through India's strategic lens. Subscribe now.